Good evening, everybody. Are we about ready to start?
Just a second, Mr. Chair.
Okay, good. Thank you, Stephen.
Okay, Mr. Chair, we're ready.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Stephen. Good evening, everybody. I would like to call this Public Works Committee meeting to order. The time is approximately 6:02. Today is Tuesday, October 6th, 2020. With that said, if you could, I'm not sure if BJ is there, but if you could please call roll for the determination of a quorum.
Chair Counselor Dennis Tim Salazar,
Present.
Counselor Denise Benavides, Counselor Dorothy Valdez,
Present.
Counselor John Ramon Vihil,
Present.
Very good. Thank you. We do have a quorum. All four members are present. Thank you very much. Counselors, before you is the agenda. I'm looking for a motion to approve the agenda for tonight's meeting.
So moved, Mr. Chair. Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you. Counselor John Ramon Vihil made a motion. I'm looking for a second.
Second.
Okay, second's been made by Counselor Denise Benavides. If you could call roll, BJ. Thank you.
okay. Counselor Chair Dennis Tim Salazar,
For the motion.
Counselor Denise Benavides,
Second motion.
Counselor Dorothy Valdez,
For the motion.
Counselor John Ramon Vihil.
For the motion.
Thank you, counselors. The motion passes. Next item on the agenda is item C, approval of the Public Works Committee meeting minutes. The first set is going to be going back to our Public Works Committee meeting for August 4th, 2020. Counselors, if you've had the opportunity to look it over, I'm looking for a motion for approval in a second.
So moved, Mr. Chair. To approve the minutes from
Second.
August 4th and July 7th.
Okay, thank you. Actually, for both of the meeting minutes for August 4th and July 7th, was that Counselor Benavides that seconded?
Yes, it was. Thank you,
Okay,
Chair.
thank you, Counselor Vihil and Counselor Benavides. Okay, the motion's been made for Public Works Committee meeting minutes for August 4th and July 7th. BJ, if you could call roll. Thank you.
Chair Counselor Dennis Tim Salazar,
For the motion.
Counselor Denise Benavides,
For the motion.
Counselor Dorothy Valdez,
In favor.
Counselor John Ramon Vihil.
In favor of the motion.
Okay, thank you very much. The motion passes. Next item is item D. This will be public comments. These public comments would not pertain to our business with visitors from Valley Estates, but just for any other public comments, if anybody's here to make any public comments at this time. Is there anybody for public comments?
Not at this time.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Next item is item E. We got business with visitors, residents of Valley Estates residents, led by former city manager, Mark Trujillo. Mr. Trujillo, are you there, sir? Okay, can't quite hear. I'm not sure if you're trying to speak, sir.
Mark, the mic's on. Off. Turn it on.
Well, now, can anybody hear me?
Yes, yes, sir, we can hear you. Welcome, Mr. Trujillo. Thank you and the Valley Estates residents for coming forward to our Public Works Committee meeting. You're on. We're happy to hear what you guys have to say in regards to Valley Estates.
Thank you, Councilor Dennis Tim Salazar, Councilor Benavides, Councilor Valdez, and Councilor Vihil. Appreciate the opportunity this evening to speak for the residents of Valley Estates. I must make it clear that when I say I'm speaking for the residents of Valley Estates, it's actually for the ones that have signed the petition I have before you. And the petition is of 42 residents out of the 68 residents. We didn't have time to get the other residents due to COVID issues and work challenges and all of the above, challenges it could be to get a petition signed. So right now, what we are presenting to the Public Works Committee right now is a safety issue that we have in Valley Estates that a lot of the residents are concerned with when they're walking the streets in the morning or in the evenings or in the afternoon. And we have a lot of new families moving into Valley Estates. New families meaning they have children with strollers, and they have old families that have been there since Valley Estates was built in 1959. And then they have some people approaching their golden years, such as myself, and others that are already in their 70s or 80s that are walking around and experiencing high volume of traffic, the speed of traffic. In fact, I wish I would have got the name of one of the city employees that was working there one day, and there's a lady flying by that she must have been going at least, I'd say 45 miles per hour, 50 miles per hour, and a 20 mile per hour zone. And we literally had to jump out of the way. But what I wanted to present to the committee, and I appreciate your time, is the petition that before you for increased safety measures in the Valley Estates neighborhood. And did all of you get a copy of this? I understand that some may not have received a copy. Councilor Dennis Tim and Councilor John Ramon, the ones that are zooming in, did you all get copies?
Mr. Trujillo, I did not get a copy of it. No, sir.
Neither did I, Mr. Trujillo, but we've talked about this.
Okay.
I did not as well.
Okay, I know that it is on tomorrow's agenda. I don't know if you would like to sign into tomorrow's agenda to look at it, or I could read it to you.
Whatever, Mr. Trujillo, whatever you're more comfortable with. I do know that you're on the Public Safety Committee meeting agenda for tomorrow as well, but whatever you're more comfortable with.
Okay, well, if y'all don't mind, just humor me. I'll read it to you, just on the concerns and what we're proposing to the committee for consideration this evening. It says, we, the undersigned residents of Valley Estates, formally requests the action by the City of Espanola Public Works Committee, Public Safety Committee, and City Council to install and or provide updated safety provisions that will deter vehicle speeding within the Valley Estates community. The safety of our residents is constantly being jeopardized and put into harm's way due to excessive speed and aggressive nature of motorists. We are deeply distraught and concerned about the safety of our neighborhood. A considerable amount of our community uses these streets for egress and recreational purposes. Our children ride bikes, play in their front yards, parents walk with their children in strollers, other residents run and jog. With the start of a new school year and the east side of Valley Drive has children boarding school buses, the aggressive drivers attempt to maneuver around cars parked on the side of the road with and against traffic in the ornate speeds, as well as our senior residents having difficulties exiting their driveways with the speed of oncoming traffic. Due to attempted break-ins, theft, vandalism, debris, accidents, and biohazards such as needles thrown into our property, the increase of traffic flow has added undue stress to the neighborhood and significantly increased the fortuity of serious injury to our residents. As a community, we, the undersigned, request the City of Espanola consider a request for the following, or in the alternative, establish a conjoint amicable solution to reduce the above addressed speeding for all parties involved. We are requesting an impact study on traffic flow within the neighborhood by the DOT or a private engineering firm. We'll propose the following for your consideration. LED flashing speed light on the corner of Valley Drive on Sunset Drive, an added stop sign on the corner of Valley Drive and Sunset Drive, speed dips and additional speed humps, post private drive, close McCurdy access, increase public safety patrols to negate aggressive driving. And Councilor Dennis Tim and members of the committee, I stand for any comments, questions, concerns, or anything you would like us to present to you if we can.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, go ahead, Councilor John Ramon Vihel.
I'd like to thank Mr. Trujillo and the members of the Valley Estates community coming this evening. You know, for the last 20 years since Walmart came into Ranchitos, it's affected the way Alan Stam created Valley Estates. I don't think they planned for Valley Estates to be Valley Drive to handle so much traffic, and it's unfortunately impacted the neighborhood there. Someone needs to turn off their mic. It's impacted negatively the neighborhood because of the traffic congestion. I'd like to hear from Stephen to see, you know, I don't think we have the funds to do a traffic study, but I'd like to see from Stephen how much it would cost to create those special speed humps, which actually do deter traffic, and he knows exactly which ones I'm talking about because we've talked in the past about some of those on Coronado Avenue. So if Stephen, if you could answer that for me.
Public Works Director, Mr. Stephen Trujillo, if you're able to speak to this, even possibly our city manager, Mr. Javier Martinez as well. Thank you, gentlemen.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, this has been brought up several times. In fact, I did want to talk about it a little bit. So I brought up minutes from previous meetings that we've had in Public Works in the past. So on February 13th, 2019, this issue was brought up, and Mr. Jim Cisneros, a resident of Valley Estates, had came in and he had issues. Him and several other individuals who lived on Valley Estates had issues with it, and they're like, we didn't agree to this situation and adding speed bumps or signs because they were going to be posted in front of their driveways, in front of their yards. I do see the petition that Mr. Trujillo provided us as well. I would like to, the city could move forward and get all the information needed to see if we could help with some of these that you're requesting. But I would like to see that all of the residents of Valley Estates, because I know it's been brought twice before and there was issues. And if we go moving forward, and then after we get residents coming in saying that they didn't agree to it, I would just want to hear from everyone before, if you wouldn't mind, Mr. Chair.
Well,
As far as the speed bumps, I'll refer that question to Elijah, how much it would be to install those.
well, first of all, the gentleman you're speaking of is no longer a resident of Valley Estates. And then we have met with some of the residents of Valley Estates, and some agreed that they do not want a stop sign on their property. That's why we gave the city options where they could maybe do a study and find out what the needs are. But, and I could be definitely wrong on this, but my understanding is that we need, out of the 68 residents of Valley Estates, we need over at least 51% of the signatures, which we provided to you with 42 signatures of each resident that have a specific concern of the speed hump or wanting speed humps or speed dips. I know it's very costly to do a study by the Department of Transportation or a private engineer firm that's probably just even unheard of for you to spend that kind of money. We know that. We're just asking, and the neighborhood has come together, is we want the city to come up with a solution that would benefit everybody with Valley Estates residents on this petition. We don't feel that it's necessary that we need to get all 68 residents, because through the statute, it's not required, but you got the majority. So again, going back, I know the day and the time that Mr. Cisneros came, mentioned that he told me personally, I don't want stop signs in my yard. And I said, we're not going to request stop signs. As a matter of fact, I'm not even going to go to the meeting. I said, I'm not going to pursue this until we get enough signatures. So I told him, and I gave him my word I would not. He gave me his word he would not. He decided to come on his own. However, that's neither here nor there. He's no longer a resident of Valley Estates, so he doesn't really have any say in this. But to have all 68 resident signatures, I don't think that it would be necessary, but if that's what you want, we can, but we want to just make it for the record that meanwhile, until we can get those or not, that the city needs to make sure that we are protected on our streets. The speeding is at 20 miles per hour. The needles are picked up on a regular basis. So we'll do anything that you ask of us to do, if that's what it's going to take. But we need the city of Espanola's help. And we got signatures here to show that there is a majority that wants something done. And we're not saying do this, we're just offering options. If you can come to the table with something else, that's fine. Or I even met with some of the residents and said, let's go to the city. And if the city comes back to the table and tells us, we can't do anything else for you, we've done everything we can, then, well, I guess we would have to accept that. But we do want it on record that we tried. Because we do have some new residents that moved into Valley Estates. And I bet you, if you drove over there now, you would probably see 6 people walking around Valley Estates, 2 with probably strollers. So our Valley Estates is changing, and it's changing for the better. But we didn't grow with the business that grew around it. So it's causing a major concern to the residents of Valley Estates, with people driving so fast, with people throwing their needles out. We have elderly people that drive out of their driveway like they own the road, which is understandably they shouldn't be doing that. But also, if people are going 20 miles per hour, if there was an accident, it probably wouldn't be very serious. As a fender bender, if somebody got hit by a car going 20 miles per hour, it'd probably kill them. But thank you for your time.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, Mr. Trio. So I wouldn't recommend that you get all 68 signatures now then, but would you be able to give us a location where you'd want these speed bumps and signs installed? And then for each individual that they would be agreeing to it? Just when we look into it that, okay, we're fine. Mr. Trujillo wants a speed hump in front of his driveway at 807 Valley Drive, and he's okay with having it there. I just, because it's became up so much, I would just like to have the input of all the residents there and that they're okay with it before moving forward. But definitely we could look into how much it's gonna cost. But if we have a location and exactly how many you guys would like along the streets, because it just says to have them installed here, but it doesn't give a location. Would you be able to do that?
That's why we really going to ask your professional opinion, or maybe an engineer's firm of professional opinion on where additional speed bumps can be installed, if they can, or can the speed bumps be lifted an inch or two? Or do we put speed dips? See, we don't know. We'd have to get the opinion from you. And if you guys go into a study and say there's nothing else that we can do with speed bumps or speed dips, then what other option would we have for Valley Estates? Elijah.
Okay, very good. Mr. Elijah Mates, if you could be able to speak to this.
Okay, Mr. Chair, members of the committee, members of the public. We had done some kind of study on that before. It was just my own. I'm not an engineer, but what I had looked at was additional speed bumps. There would be minimal amounts we could add because of, engineers maybe they'll come up with it, but where the driveways sit, we can't have people backing out onto these because the proximity of the ones we have right now are just clearing where people have their driveways. So adding more, there may be a few that we could add if that was an option. So we had looked at those before, and we had installed one, I think, prior at one point coming in from North McCurdy. We had added an additional one there at one point in time.
Right.
Speed dips, unfortunately, would create standing water because there's no drainage system there that empties into it. It's all gravity feed that goes somewhere else. They don't go into to drop inlets and go down to a collection system. So putting those would actually hinder traffic in a sense where in the wintertime it would build up a water, you end up with ice, snow, unwanted amounts of water, and people wouldn't really want that. The other things we had looked into before were flashing lights at the beginning of the road, in the middle there, intermediately in there. I'm not trying to deter anything here. The flashing light, people didn't quite want that because it would be in front of their house, and every time somebody go by, it'd be the bright light. The one thing I had proposed, and people were opposed to it, were the rumble strips. Those can be put in between the speed bumps where they're actually cut into the grooves, or grooves are cut into the asphalt itself to deter people from speeding. Or there could be small raised ones that are on there that really won't affect traffic or won't affect the people backing out. But the only problem is the snow plowing in the winter, we can't have the raised ones because we'll pop them off with the snow plows. So having them down in the ground is about the closest we could possibly do with something like that. The other options that have been presented in the past have been lowering speed limits, trying by 5 miles an hour. I know right now we're looking at two additional signs that were requested. So I'm having to find placement for those additional signs that were wanted because the existing ones now are pulled up so much because there's not a lot of placement right now because of the amount of basically nobody wants them in front of their yard. Nobody wants a sign in their driveway and stuff. So we have looked into some of those, and there are options there. Speed bumps are relatively inexpensive. It's something we can do ourselves and something that can be installed. But the placement of them, the proximity to somebody's driveway is the issue.
What about, and I don't know if the legal standard would allow them to be raised.
We have right now to where we have at a minimum of, or the maximum 4 inches is the height that we can go. And that's what we built. The one coming in off of North McCurdy, that is at the maximum height. And it's 8 foot. I'm not sure if it was adopted by the council or not, but I remember at one point they were wanting 8 foot by 4 inches was the standard that they wanted. Any higher than that, you start looking at damage to vehicles, or you have to extend them so wide that you're going to have, 12 foot and 14 foot speed tables at that point. So raising them up higher could end up causing damage to vehicles. Become a general nuisance.
On Camino Santa Cruz, there's no way to just cruise all over those bumps without damaging the vehicle. Why couldn't we have the humps of Valley Estates flag?
Yeah, those are at 4 inches over there. And those were prior to them adopting anything. That was prior to me even being in charge of any of this. And those were, in fact, we had to lower some of those because they were above the 4 inch, because the 4 inch spacing on them was causing damage to well, not causing damage, but it could have potential for causing damage on vehicles. So we did have to lower them down to the 4 inch. They're not quite at the 8 foot, and I think that was adopted afterwards.
So then, what do we do? If we can't speed it, we can't have increased speed hump.
And like I said, there could be increased speed humps. It's just the placement of them would have to find somewhere that they don't encroach into somebody's driveway. And we just want to make sure that that would be part of a study that would be on there. I had mentioned it at one point to find it. This is some of the most speed humps in the city are on that road.
Right now, we're kind of at the mercy of the city of Espanola. What you guys decide, we'll have to live with. But we just want you to consider, councilors, what we could possibly do for Valley Estates. I'm a resident of Valley Estates, permanent resident now of 4 years, but I'm actually was born and brought home from the hospital in Valley Estates. So I've seen the changes of Valley Estates, and I've seen the progression of the city of Espanola in a positive way with all the businesses. But then they forgot about, okay, the businesses moved around Valley Estates and forgot about doing an impact study to what it's going to do to all of us. And now we just need the city of Espanola to help us out. Whatever you think you can do to minimize the traffic, that's wonderful. We would love just the 42 or the 48 residents that signed this petition. Also, boy, good luck in trying to get McCurdy closed. I said, well, we'll present it. The city will do that. And maybe it's impossible for the city to do something like that now, but I know it's not impossible for the city to go in there and just do something. Private drive, public safety. I know that the Espanola Police Department has a lot bigger fish to fry, so to speak, in the city than have somebody park right there and do traffic patrolling. But we just need some help. We need help on just feeling safe in that neighborhood, feeling safe walking, feeling safe with our children, feeling safe at night, and not having to deal with needles on the road. And I know it's me being a former city manager, I know those needles are out of control with how we could keep them clean. The city of Espanola does an awesome job trying to clean the needles, but we don't know what to do about it in Valley Drive, Valley Estates. And so that's why we're just here. Maybe you guys can pull together and say, well, this is what we propose to do. Like you say, you'll do a study. Appreciate that. We would love to have that happen. Tomorrow, when we present to public safety, we'll probably just ask public safety if they can address the safety issues of the needles and the feeling like we're in harm's way and feeling like we're not secure in our homes because of the amount of transients that walk through there. I don't know what, we just need the city of Espanola's help. And we just want to live a happy life over there and feel safe. Yes, sir. Steve.
Public Works Director Stephen Trujillo. Go ahead, sir.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, so I would suggest, can we look for the funding? Would you both agree on that we could look for the funding for a traffic study? Because I know we don't have the funding in our budget right now. I know definitely Streets doesn't.
I know. Yeah.
We could start with the funding to look for one, get a traffic study, starting there, and then moving forward after we see what it comes out to and starting with that process. Would that be something?
That would be something that we would all consider doing the public study. That will be expensive. If you hire a private engineer firm, well, I know that's going to be costly. That's not going to be $5,000 or $10,000, they're going to charge you quite a bit. I know that, but working with all of you in the past, that's probably not realistic at all for you to present to the finance committee and say, can we have $40,000 to do a study for Valley Estates? They probably won't do it when you have much larger streets to deal with. But that's why we asked, maybe one of the simplest solutions will maybe be the speed hump, if we can legally do something with speed humps. I have one of my neighbors here, if she wants to add to it. We need your help. We need your help. And I know this was a concern even when I was city manager, but nothing was done about it. And maybe it's my fault because I didn't live there at the time. Actually, I did live there the first year, but I didn't pay much attention to it. But now that I'm retired and I can see what's going on when we're walking around our streets, the residents of Valley Estates do need your help in any way, just to work on that traffic.
Okay, so if it's for a traffic study then of doing that, Mr. Modes and myself, we could look into see about raising this current speed humps that are there, but also if you would be able to get me a placement, like I said, of signs and where these are going to be installed. That way we could move forward in that direction and just see of them being placed, and then we can move forward and present to Valley Estates where they're gonna be put and make sure it's okay with everyone.
Well, can we at least have signs put at the entrance of Valley Estates saying children to play? And maybe if it's our responsibility to keep the Chinese elm cut around those signs, we'll do it. I'll personally go out and cut those Chinese elms that are growing up around the traffic signs. But we just want you guys to give us some consideration. Do whatever you can do. And I know how difficult it be because I've been basically on the other side of this podium listening to, and we're presenting you with a pretty big challenge. But if something can be done, and we know it's not going to happen overnight, we'd appreciate it, so long as we know that we're listened to and the city is acting on it. We would certainly, and you tell us what to do and we'll do it. If we need 68 signatures from 68 residents, we will certainly do our best to do that, but we don't have to do it anymore. We do have the majority. So now closing the McCurdy entrance, you may need all residents to sign off on that, but I don't. I'll
And
be
then
speaking on the school
And then planning and land use would have to get involved, and I think it's a much bigger involvement on that.
Yeah, you'd have to have a community.
Yeah.
Right.
So that one would be farther. Now we could do, like I said, with the signs and speed humps, we could definitely work on that. But as far as closing, but that we could look into, and then the street signs, we could look into that too. But also if you could give me just the location of where you guys would like them, that would help us out a lot to be able to move forward as well, faster, so.
So I don't want to beat a dead horse, but would the city consider at times putting those mobile speed monitors where people are going to there and they look at it and they go like, oh, I'm going 30 miles per hour already. But I know there's only a couple of places you can put that, and that would be one probably next to your corner driveway where you turn into Sunset. You could probably put one there, and then maybe the other one next to the end of Valley Drive. I don't know if that would be even realistic. I'll go in Eliza, your professional opinion on that. It maybe not be worth it. The city may not even have those. I don't know. I haven't noticed if they have them or not. But whatever you can do for us, I know. Is there some of the residents who want to make any comments?
There's pretty much 5 speed bumps around the
Yes, at
This is
this
Steve
time, Mr.
Quintana, one of the residents of Valley Estates, that's going to be speaking.
Okay, welcome, Mr. Quintana.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Currently, there's about 5 speed bumps on Valley Drive. And if we could get another speed bump like in between those 5, that'd be great. I think that would slow people down because we get too many people, cars flying through there. especially now that I have my great-granddaughter at my house doing her schooling. She goes out to play on her scooter, and I'm terrified every time she goes out, because I have a driveway that goes straight down to the road. And so I try to park my cars so that detour her from getting to the road. That whatever you could do, I'd appreciate it.
Very good. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. At this time, I would like to give our city council members on the committee an opportunity to ask a question or have any comments if anybody from the committee has any comments at this time. Councilor Valdez, Councilor Benavides, or Councilor Vihil?
Chair Salazar, this is Councilor Valdez.
Yes,
I just
Councilor-
want to thank the residents of Valley Estates for sharing their concerns. And we are hearing them and we want to help you. And I hope we can add those signs and speed bumps. Thank you for sharing with us. It is a big issue. Lives matter, all lives matter, especially your children, your grandchildren that live in that community. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Valdez. Councilor Benavides or Councilor Vihil, do you have anything else to add?
I have a comment, Council.
Yes, Councilor Benavides, go ahead, ma'am.
You may lose, I've kind of lost connection a couple of times, but I did want to say thank you also to the residents. But I wanted to say that my husband and I were putting gas at Murphy's, and I did see a vehicle run the red light and go across to Valley Estates. They were going so fast when they hit the speed bump, they went out of control. Had there been a child or someone walking there, who knows what could have happened. So it's a big concern. And I think that we really need to act a whole lot quicker. I think that we could start by having public safety go out there and start giving some speeding citations and let people know that we've noticed that they're speeding and, you know, that they're not doing what they need to do when they drive through there. You know, safety is a huge concern through there. When I saw that, I could not believe it. So, I mean, I think that start by giving citations. I think that adding a speed hump would be a big help there. But I mean, we really do need to address it, I think, a lot quicker than we think we do. When I saw that, I could not believe it. If there was a child or someone walking, the car went up in the air and fell sideways. Had somebody been walking, they would have gotten seriously hurt.
Very true.
Thank you.
Thank you very, very much, Councilor Benavides. I would also like to state for the record, I do not live in Valley Estates, but just like Mr. Mark Trujillo, straight from the hospital, I was taken to Valley Estates. My parents have lived Valley Estates since 1965. So I was raised in Valley Estates as a kid. The streets were so safe. We would ride our bikes in Valley Estates. We would walk, we would ramp on our bikes. We would always, all the kids around Valley Estates would play. I think Councilor Vihil hit the nail on the head as of, I think it was 1998 when Walmart came in. And that's when things started to change. So now often I visit my mother and I do see a lot of the dangers within Valley Estates. And I, for one, not just as a councilor, but as a resident of the city of Espanola, and of course, with my mother living in Valley Estates, I see it often, the dangers, and I do feel that something does need to be done. And I would like to encourage C of our city, any way possible with whatever means we have, could be able to work with the residents of Valley Estates. And I guess at this time too, of possibly our Public Works Director, Stephen Trujillo, and our city manager, Javier Martinez, and the staff could be able to continue the dialogue with Mr. Mark Trujillo and the residents of Valley Estates, along with our Public Safety Committee, and of course the public safety officers as well, to see if there's something that could be done and what could be done and how much could be done. At this time. Also at this time, I think Councilor Vihil might have got kicked off or something with his battery low, so he's trying to get on another means. I'm not sure. Are you on right now, Councilor Vihil?
Yes, Mayor Pro Tem Salazar, I did get on, and I'll let you finish, and I have some additional comments.
Okay, thank you, Councilor. I think with that said, that's pretty much all I have for right now, but go ahead, Councilor Vihil, you have the floor, sir.
You know, I've heard these issues about Valley Drive for quite some time, and you know, it really does come and stem from the growth in Ranchitos, and mainly is because Valley Drive has become an arterial. It's the last point to get from Riverside Drive to McCurdy Road until Fairview Lane. Um, but one thing is Stephen, you said it's been talked about 2019, and I'm for one that I hate when we talk about doing things, and I really would like us to come back at next month's Public Works Committee meeting and get an update, a status update, what we're doing, whether it's a traffic study, whether it's the increased speed bumps. I honestly don't think signs is going to be the best way. I think we have to physically deter people from speeding. I hate to be like that, but you know, you can put signs up all day long, but people are just going to continue to speed erratically down Valley Drive until we actually physically obstruct them from being able to do that. So that's why I'm not sure how much it costs. I'm not an engineer, but I wanted to see if we could look at putting those special speed humps where they're like, I guess, diagonal. I know that they've done those in Santa Fe, and those really do slow down people. And because I've seen it, people have to really slow down to cross them. And I want us to explore all options for the people in Valley Estates. It's very much deserved for them. And I'd hate for us to walk away from this meeting not helping these residents. It's a very nice neighborhood. It's a very coveted, sought after neighborhood. And to have to deal with a consistent traffic problem just because we can't put our heads together to help them, because Mark brought it up, they're completely at our mercy. And I just would like to see a plan of action going forward. And I hope that by next month we can have a better understanding. Elijah, Stephen, you're going to meet with Mark and whoever your core people are, Mr. Trujillo from Valley Estates, that we get on that and we come up with what exactly we can do as the city, and what Mr. Trujillo, you and your coordinated effort from Valley Estates are willing to commit from the Valley Estates neighborhood.
Thank you, Councilor Vihil. Stephen Trujillo, go ahead, sir. You have the floor.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, John Ramon Vihil, yes, we are willing to help the residents of Valley Estates. We were before, but we ran into these speed bumps, like I say, of most individuals wanted it and most didn't. And most definitely, I know the streets crew will be able to install humps if that's what's willing to. It's just the placement of them is all that we need to be able to put them in. And if it's agreed to upon by the residents, it's fine. That's the only concern I see, is people not wanting it next to their driveway. Or so if there's a place to put it and the residents agree, it's not an issue of us going out there to help you to place them on. But we'll definitely be in contact with you. Tomorrow we could go out, take a drive and look at it. And we just need help from you guys and where we're gonna place these to be put, because I know that was the biggest concern of everything. And that's why I had been shut down so many times before. So.
Okay, so Mr. Trujillo, what we can do is, once you let us know where you think additional speed bumps will work well for us, then we can get together with the residents and say, okay, the city has listened to us. They're proposing speed bumps in these designated areas. And then if the rest of the residents say, no, we're not doing it, well, then we'll say, well, you know, the city's tired of us blowing smoke up there, como se llama, and we just need to stop bugging them if we're not going to work with what they suggest.
Do you have that address, sir, of where you were saying there were two in place to put one in between?
There's 4 speed bumps to my house, and then there's the fire station, which there's another speed bump. There's 4 speed bumps to my house. I live at 801 Valley Drive. And I know that there's 4 speed bumps to my house, and then there's another one in front of
my house.
in front of Mark's house, and then the one at the fire station. So there's really 6 speed bumps. So I'd have to, I'm retired, so I have the time during the day. I can go and I can talk to the people in between the speed bumps and see if if they don't mind putting a speed bump, you know, not in their driveway, but to on either side, and see what I can what I can get from, what information I can get from them.
Okay, Mr. Chair, members of the committee, Elijah and I will go out there. We'll be out there tomorrow to check it out, and we could start that process. And by next Public Works meeting, we'll have some answers for you guys for Valley Estates.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Okay,
Thank you.
very good. Very good. Thank you. Also, Stephen, if there's anything you need from us from the committee in any way we could help, please let us know as well. And yeah, we look forward to continued updates to see how, the city could be able to work with Valley Estates. And we're also hoping in relation to tomorrow's meeting with public safety, they're able to be able to work with Valley Estates as well. Mr. Mark Trujillo, do you have anything else to add, sir?
Thank you, Councilor Dennis Tim. You know how good that makes me feel that something's happening. We do have one of our residents, Miss Randall, that wants to say a few words. Come on up, Miss Randall.
Okay, very good.
Ana Randall Romero. I've lived there for like 28 years. And during that time, I live in a corner house right there on the corner of Sunset Valley. I really am opposed to a speed bump. When you drive by tomorrow, you might see where the speed bump used to be, right in front of my house. It's labeled 634, but it's really 614 Valley Drive. And at one point, they had put a stop sign right there in the middle of my house, right there on the house right next to it. And that was a nightmare. I already have a stop sign on my property, which I hear the people, they stop, they linger. And when I used to have that speed bump right in front of, like towards the end of my house, going up towards Mr. Trujillo's, I could hear the people talking and, stuff. So there's one at the next neighbors trying, 612, I believe. What are the Archuletas?
I'm sorry?
The Archuletas, do you know their address?
No, I don't know.
Yeah, but I don't really want anything in front of my yard. Because I feel I already injured enough by having the stop sign on my property.
Thank you, ma'am. And that's why I did bring up, we just need to have a foolproof plan and everybody agree where it benefits everyone, because we understand the concerns, but there are people that I don't want signs in my yard, or it's blocking my view, or flashing lights aren't gonna help, but we're gonna look into it. Like, we're not just gonna place them. That's why we'll coordinate with Mr. Trujillo and then discuss with the neighbors if it's okay to put it there, and that way we can move forward and try our best to help everyone. That way everybody in Valley Estates is happy with what we're doing.
And there are a lot of kids. At one point, it's been several years, like over, I don't know, like maybe 10 years. They conducted like a speed trap, and over there, like on the corner of Sunset and Valley, they had a police presence for like about a month or so. They were stopping people. The people became afraid and they quit zooming through there because they knew the police were going to be there all the time. They didn't have to be there like for a year. It just, they knew they were going to be there for a good while. So that's another option, but there are a lot of kids and it is dangerous. Even some of the residents are very dangerous there, that are not careful. So
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay, Mr. Trujillo, Mr. Mark Trujillo, is there anything else before we're able to move on? And then at this time, yeah, just continue the dialogue, and we're looking looking forward to hearing back from you guys at the next Public Works Committee meeting as well.
Councilor Dennis Tim, thank you for your time. Members of the committee, thank you for your time. Steve, Elijah, and I don't know this gentleman's name. I know you guys are out there working really hard, taking care of a lot of streets in the city. And whatever you can do for Valley Estates residents, we'd appreciate it. I know that Ms. Randall just mentioned she doesn't want a speed bump in front of her house, but yet we do want a safety standard in Valley Estates. I think the city owes that to us for allowing the buildings around us, all the businesses come up around us, which is wonderful. But the feasibility study, the impact study, I don't think was ever done for Valley Drive, Valley Estates. And now we're paying for it. So we just need your attention and the community to know that, hey, Valley Estates is not going to be a place you can speed through. And appreciate your time, Councilor Dennis Tim.
Very good. Thank you, sir. And thank you and the fellow members from Valley Estates for coming before us. We look forward to talking to you more in the future, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to the next agenda item is item F, which is committee member comments. Committee members, you have the floor if you have any comments to make at this time. Is there anybody from the committee that has any comments at this time?
I do, Mr. Chair.
Okay, Councillor John Ramon Vigil.
I'll defer to Councillor Benavides first, okay?
Okay, Councillor
Thank
Denise.
you.
Benavides.
Yeah, can you hear me? My internet connection is just stable. That's what it keeps telling me. I just wanted to bring up really quick. I did have about 5 residents from Calle Redonda meet with me. They first did want to state that the public works staff is wonderful. Apparently they call quite often. They wanted to say that as soon as they call, they're out there. But they did want, apparently there's a pothole as you enter to the right before you go down. And they did have issues with the cattle guard being uneven or unstable, which I believe they speak to somebody about, but they wanted me to bring that up and address that again. And then they just had questions about when Calle Redonda was going to give them attention. So I did go over that with them as well. But just to let Stephen and Elijah know, if they get out there and fix the pothole, I appreciate that. Thanks, Chair.
Very good. Thank you, Councillor Benavides. Councillor John Ramon Vigil, sir, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I have a few questions. I wanted to get an update from Stephen. I understand we met with Hemis Mountains Electric Co-op about the lighting on North Prince Drive, and if we could get a little elaboration on that.
Mr. Chair, Mr. Dennis Tim Salazar, this is Javier Martinez.
Yes, Mr. Javier Martinez, City Manager, you have the floor, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee, Councilor John Ramon Vigil. So just to give you a quick update, I believe that you were part of the email threads that I sent to Mr. Tony Martinez. As of today, I have not received any response back from our meeting that we had about a week and a half ago. So he did mention that he could provide to us a quote to put lighting down North Prince Drive, primarily with wooden poles from Arnie Glass all the way down to the edge of city limits. But as of right now, I have not heard any response back from Mr. Martinez to that.
Okay, thank you. Another thing, thank you, Javier, for getting on that. I'll have Ernesto call Tony. I brought this up 2 years ago, and the people of Ranchitos have been very concerned about it, is the speed on the approach coming into the southbound entrance from Taos into Española on State Road 68 on Riverside Drive. I had spoken with outgoing State Rep Joseph Sanchez about lowering the speed as you come into the approach of town. I understand it goes from 55 at the city limit, and then it goes to 45 in the little residential corridor by Hindi Shell, and then it becomes 35 way already into the city by the Fairview Post Office. And it's become quite a problem for the people of Ranchitos because it's hard for them to get out of their homes onto the highway. It's still a residential area in Ranchitos. And actually just the other day, there was an accident. They took out my Tio Edon and my Tia Gertrude's house in Ranchitos. They took out the porch. I can't believe someone was going that fast that they went off the road and they took off. The house is at least 5, 6, 7 yards back from the roadway. But still, we talked about this with former city manager Kelly Duran, and I'd like to see what we can do is talking with the DOT about how they can at least reduce the speed at the city limit. They'd have to start reducing the speed limit in San Juan by the casino. And as they approach into town, they would already have to be coming down to 45 or 35 already in city limits. But it's become a very big safety issue for the people of Ranchitos. And I think it's something that it can be fixed on a minor without necessary expenses. I think it's simple, and we just need to reach out to DOT again and facilitate those conversations. So Stephen, if we could do that, and Elijah, working with DOT, I had already talked with Paul Brasher about it, but we need to facilitate those conversations about it.
Councillor Vihil, I think Richard Hubler may have an answer to that.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the commission or the committee, and Councillor Vihil. So the DOT will change speed limits after a speed limit evaluation. The good news is that they're in the middle of doing a corridor study on all of 68 from city limit to city limit. So that already includes evaluation of not only the speeds, but all the signalized intersections. And so that's a long and lengthy process, but it is underway. And so we should see some answers hopefully come out of that.
Thank you. I appreciate that. One last thing. I wanted us to look at the lighting at the park. I know I would bring this up typically with Community Services Committee, but if the parks, the Vietnam Veterans Memorial Park, those street lights at the park are pretty much the lights for the street. There's a lot of them that I think are shot out, burnt out. If we can take a look at those, Jeff, that would be great.
Good evening, Committee Chair Salazar, committee members, John Ramon. Those lights, probably about a month ago, I had gone through there and the lights were working. What has happened is we have 2 timers that run those lights, and the power had a glitch on it and had knocked the time frame. They come on and off. So I will have my guys go check it tomorrow and verify that it is back on. And we can actually power it to force it on, and we can check to see if we have any burnt bulbs out there, and we'll go from there.
Thank you, Jeff. Appreciate it. That concludes my comments, Mr. Chair. Thank you all for staff.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Councillor Vihil. Councillor Dee Valdez, do you have anything at this time, ma'am?
No, not now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Okay, with that said, I think we can move on. Matters from the chair, I have nothing at this time. So let's move on to, there's nothing recommended items to the full council. No action items. So let's move on to the next one, which will be our General Services Department overview. We got our General Services Director, Mr. Jeff Sargent. Mr. Sargent, you have the floor, sir.
Good evening, Committee Chair Salazar, committee members and members of the public. Before you is the Public Works Committee overview for my department with updates for different projects that we have going on. Our GPS navigation system, we are installing the OBDs on the vehicles. As far as the online auction of assets, we're doing the last of the information gathering. We're going to make a couple videos, and then we'll be submitting that information to the website so they can start posting our information. Penny Garcia Roy Ball Pool. I don't know if anybody has driven by there within the last week or two, but my General Services Department, along with the help of Antonio Chavez and his crew from the Water Department, helped us remove the wrought iron that we had on the top of those pony walls that were towards the park, and we have replaced those and moved them onto the top of the wall of the Ranchitos pool. And we have secured them with some screws and bolts to where we have a nice wrought iron on both sides. The only side that we lack completing is the north side, but that will be a project that we'll have to get some quotes on to complete that. But we did repurpose all that wrought iron for that, and it looks pretty darn good. As another project at the pool that I've got going on, and I just turned in paperwork today to our city manager, was we had received, gone out for quotes to install panic hardware and door hardware for that site because the existing doorknobs and stuff were substandard. They were very old, hard to deal with, as our city manager and I have dealt with in the past. So today I received the last of quotes and I submitted that paperwork in, so we should be getting new doors and panic hardware and bring that place up to code. Valdez Park renovation, as you can all see. I'm just waiting on CID to get the approvals done so we can begin work down there as far as our ADA parking, sidewalks, our shade structures, and our center rail for that top concrete bench that is right next to Lucero Center. Our crew also did install that Luis Pena mural. So that work was completed. They actually did a dedication that Councilor Benavides was present for. And let me see what else. At the convento, we had these concrete bollards that had lights and outlets on them that were a maintenance issue. We kept having people back into them, break them. And we had a few that have been completely destroyed. So we had to wire exposed out from the bottom of the concrete slabs. Since within the last month, I had a contractor come out and we had all of those bollards removed and we have new sidewalk in their place and we have no electrical to where people can get shocked and eliminate the liability to the city. And lastly, I'm working with Diane Hawkes and finance department so we can get the reimbursement for our second project for our COVID-19. I stand for any questions.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Sargent. Councilors, do you have any questions at this time?
Jeff, can you go on a little bit about the shade structure at Des Park? I had a constituent ask me what we're doing with that capital outlay money.
So for the shade structures, we are installing a total of 4 shade structures for the ballparks 1 and 2, I believe, that had 0 shade structures. Well, the ADA walkways that will be coming from Veterans Memorial and off Railroad will have a direct straight shot to those shade structures to where people with access issues will be able to go there and enjoy their kids, grandkids play. So though they're a very nice shade structure. They're like an arch type system setup. And also something I forgot to mention is one of the big items that is going on within the park is we will be installing new LED lighting that will be specific to lighting up the grass in the park area to where we can hopefully deter people that are out there doing wrong to have the spotlight put on them, so to speak. And phase 2, which is the second $300,000 that we had just gotten released from that freeze due to COVID-19. We met with State Rep Susan Herrera last week. That was myself, City Manager Martinez, and Community Services Director Scott Frost, and we met with her and we came to a consensus that we are going to demolish the existing concession building due to the numerous issues that we've been having with the homeless population out there, using needles, hiding, sleeping, defecating, all kinds of bad stuff going on out there. So we will be eliminating that and hopefully building a new one. And also Vanessa's Hideaway will have a new play structure installed, and the play structure that is directly below City Hall will be, I'm getting a quote to get that completely replaced as well. So that will cover all of the $600,000, both project 1 and project 2 for that location.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Sargent. Councilor Denise Benavides, I think you had a question, ma'am.
I did, just really quick. I just wanted to thank the guys for hanging the mural. It's beautiful. If everybody gets a chance to go by and see it, please do so. But I noticed that day after I was chatting with the family, I kind of looked up and some of those vias that come out of the walls there by the library at Lucero Center are in really bad shape. if they even are Vigas. I don't know if they're just, something for pretty, portion. So I don't know if that's something that Jeff is on your plate or somebody else's to kind of take a look at and see if we can maybe replace them or figure out what we can do to beautify them a little bit.
So Councilor Benavides, what we've got going on right now is as of 2.5 years ago, I had placed that entire building on an ICIP for exterior work and also roof work for that site. Those vigas that you see in front of the building are strictly for decoration, for pretty. They serve no purpose. They're not load bearing. It's just,
Like that.
yeah. So if you folks would give us some direction, we could eliminate those completely, but then we'll have little trunks sticking out from that wall instead of the viga. So your choice. You tell me what to do and we'll pursue it.
Okay, thanks.
Jeff, going on that, Mr. Chair.
Yes, go ahead, Councilor Vio.
Be quiet, Sandia. Is there any possibility for us to, I know it's decorative and that, but go towards like a composite wood or something where it could be attached to where the log is on the end?
I will look into that and I will get back with you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, very good. Thank you, councilors. Councilor Valdez, do you have anything to add at this time, ma'am?
No, I'm just glad that Mr. Sargent and his department is moving along, and I'm glad they got the second $300,000 to fix up that Valdez Park. It's used by a lot of people, so we have to maintain it and keep it up to standards.
Very good. Thank you, Councilor Valdez. Also, Mr. Sargent, I want to thank you for your hard work. Thank you for the thorough updates and your continued hard work in reference to the COVID updates. So we know pretty much, well, exactly, what's going on. Those, updates, they're great. They really help us all as a whole. So thank you very much for your hard work with that as well, sir. We appreciate you.
You're very welcome, Chair.
Thank you. Mr. Sargent, if you don't have anything else to add right now, I think we'll move on to the next item. There's nothing else at this time, Mr. Sargent?
I am done with my report, sir. Thank you very much, and you folks have a great evening.
You as well. Thank you, sir. Okay, moving on to item J. I think we're going to cover wastewater and water department at the same time. Water Operations Supervisor Antonio Chavez, are you there, sir?
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the committee.
Mr. Chavez.
Here's my overview for both departments. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Thank you.
I do have a couple items that I'd like to talk about, though.
Okay, sure. Yeah, go ahead, Mr. Chavez. You have the floor, sir. Go ahead.
On my wastewater tasks, Los Alamos County is donating a blower to the wastewater plant and is asking the approval for us to receive it. We're asking for the approval, and it's for denitrification in our ABs to strip ammonia. So it's in good working order. It matches ours, and we're asking to be able to receive this item.
Okay, Mr. Steven Trujillo or City Manager Martinez, is that something that could be done administratively, or is that something that needs to go through the committee process?
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, Mr. Public Works Director, Steven Trujillo, so that can be done administratively. It's primarily on the county's side if they need to pass it through their commission, but for us to accept it, we can gladly accept it administratively.
Okay, very good. And I think at this time too, we're very thankful for LA County, donating this as well. Go ahead, Mr. Chavez.
I'll hand it over to Steven Trujillo on this. Thank you, sir.
Okay, very good. Thank you, sir. Mr. Trujillo, go ahead, sir.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, the second one, Mr. Chavez is gonna bring up, and that'll have to go through council because we've done it one before. The old meters that were taken out in the meter change out, they were all gutted and they have them in pallets to take to the Santa Fe scrap. And with that money that we're gonna be using, we're gonna put it back into the enterprise water account to purchase the new meters, so we have stock. And that'll be something, it came up after, so we didn't get to add it, but that'll be on the next meeting as an action item.
Okay, very good.
Give a heads up on that, and that'll be coming to, for council for full approval on the next meeting.
Okay, very good. Are you guys facing any kind of specific deadline with this, or nothing specific? You're just looking to bring it to the committee and then possibly to council as long as it approves committee, just the normal process? Is that what it is?
Yes, sir, it's just the normal process. So it'll be able to wait till next committee meeting and then the following council meeting.
Right. Okay, very good. Thank you. Is there any other comments from either Mr. Trujillo or Mr. Chavez in regards to water or wastewater at this time? Okay, hearing none. Councilors, do you have any questions or comments for Mr. Chavez or Mr. Trujillo in regards to water or wastewater? Okay, hearing none. Thank you, gentlemen. Okay, go ahead, Stephen.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, I did want to say also, we do have a new wastewater superintendent starting the 26th of October.
Okay.
His name is Rodney Talcott. He's coming here from Las Cruces, so I just wanted to share that information with you. And we'll be introducing him and that after he comes on board. So I just did want to mention that to the committee. Thank you.
Okay, very good. Thank you for that. And yes, we look forward to meeting Mr. Talca very soon. Thank you, Mr. Trujillo, and also thank you, Mr. Chavez and your staff for all your hard work. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee.
Thank you, sir. Okay, moving on to the next item, we have our streets department. We have streets supervisor, Mr. Elijah Matiz. You have the floor, sir.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. I have my overview presented for you guys here. If you guys have any kind of questions or any concerns, please feel free.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Matiz. Committee members, before you is Mr. Matiz's report. Do you have any questions or comments at this time? Okay, hearing none, I don't think we have anything else, Mr. Matiz. Thank you so much. I appreciate
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to our next item is item M, which is the Planning and Land Use Department. We have Planning and Land Use Director, Mr. Richard Hubler. You have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. So I do have the update presented there with a number of items that are still active. I'm certainly happy to answer any questions about that. But first, I want to let you guys in on a little secret. This week is the APA New Mexico annual conference. It's actually being held in coordination with 5 surrounding states, all the way over to Louisiana, Arkansas, Kansas, Texas, and Oklahoma. And as part of that, at tomorrow evening celebrations, they're going to be announcing with the New Mexico section that our Fairview Corridor study, which was submitted by the DOT along with the Gallup safety plan, was awarded first place in the innovation and planning category. So that's pretty exciting news for us and for our DOT partners. But don't tell anybody because it's not going out until tomorrow evening. Other than that, we've got a number of things that are moving forward, and I'm happy to answer any questions you might have on those.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Hubler. Good job. Congratulations on that. I think that's awesome. Is the conference going to be virtually, or are you guys going to be meeting in person this year?
It is virtual. Yep, it started actually yesterday, and it's going all week basically, but it is virtual. Yep, which is kind of fun because we do get to see a lot of presentations that, because of the multi-state nature, that we wouldn't have necessarily seen otherwise.
Very good. Yeah, that APA, I think they have a wealth of information, especially when it's multi-states. I'm sure there's a lot more information with that. So it's very good. Councilors, before you is the Planning and Land Use Department overview. Do you have any questions or comments at this time for Mr. Hubler?
I have one.
Okay. Yes, go ahead, Councilor Benavides. Yes, ma'am.
Just a really quick question. I know the affordable housing plan seems like it's taken forever. Do we have any idea when that's going to come before us?
As soon as possible. The first draft that we got was not the quality of information and analysis that we were looking for. So we made some rather extensive comments, both us and the county, sent it back to our consultant, who has provided just this past week a draft of the first 3 chapters that we're reviewing now, in hopes that they're a little bit more on track. So potentially November.
Okay,
Thank you.
very good. Thank you, Mr. Hubler. Is there any other questions for Mr. Hubler at this time? Mr. Hubler, thank you and your staff for your hard work, and also congratulations that first place, especially coming from the APA. That's a huge, huge honor for the, for the February quarter project. So thank you guys. Keep up the hard work, and we'll definitely keep this a secret till tomorrow, till it's officially announced. So, okay, good job. Thank you, sir. Okay, moving on to the next item, we got Public Works Department, Public Works Director Stephen Trujillo, Department Overview. Go ahead, Mr. Trujillo, you have the floor.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, before you use my report, and I'll stand for any questions on that, and then I have a few updates to give. So if there's not any questions, then I'll move forward.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Trujillo. There's councilors, before you use the Public Works Department Overview. If you have the opportunity to look over it, do you have any questions or comments for Mr. Trujillo at this time?
I do, Stephen. Wanted to bring up about Camino Miramontes. I see you're working on it, and I appreciate that, but I would like, and sorry, I thought this was the best point. Richard and Stephen, if we could stay in contact with Del Norte Credit Union, because they've been doing a lot of heavy construction down there now, creating the second branch, and I guess it's doing a lot of, it's really tearing up the road. And I've been getting a lot of complaints from the residents there that it's just getting even worse right now because of all the trucks on Del Norte. So if we can work with Del Norte Credit Union's contractor about being a good neighbor to the residents of Camino Miramontes, that would be great.
Yes, sir.
Very good. Thank you, Councilor Vigil. Councilor Benavides or Councilor Valdez, do you have any questions or comments for Mr. Trujillo?
Not for me, thank you.
Okay.
No, me either. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, ladies. Appreciate that. Mr. Trujillo, go ahead with your updates, sir.
Okay, so a few updates that I have. Councilor Benavides, we will be working on that pothole on Calle Redonda. I also did want to mention we received the purchase order from GM Emulsion for $203,958.23 to do the overlay on Calle Redonda. We'll have a start date for you. We're going to meet with them probably tomorrow, so I won't be able to give an update till next meeting, but that's underway. So that's good news for us. We're going to be working on the whole entire street of Calle Redonda.
They will be so happy. I can't even tell you.
Yeah, so once we get that date, I could share a quick email and let you guys know just that we got it approved, or I could, it'll be on our next meeting for sure, and I'll give you updates on that. State Road 76 project, I did send an email to all counselors letting you know. Unfortunately, the DOT traffic control was not approved, but we're in contact, city manager, Mr. Martinez, and myself every week. We're having weekly updates to see if we could get this going back on track again as soon as we can. Camino Miramontes, we're working on that too with the 30% design. Councilor John Ramon, I will talk with him on the construction on De Norte, see if we can make it easier for the residents on Camino Miramontes. The faded signs throughout the city, I know Elijah's been working on that, and we've been in contact with DOT. He sent another email, and we'll probably send another one tomorrow. We haven't got any response yet, but we are working on that. Trying to get these signs changed out so it looks better. For the nitrate system, that hasn't been brought up in a while. That's still ongoing as well. Dialogue between our engineers, Sauter Miller and Denora, and Advanced Environmental on getting those construction submittals approved. So that's still in the process of working. The construction going on at Cuatro Villas, we're meeting with them, and I'll be there tomorrow. They are just adding new lines to create pressure for their system, but that's something we're involved in, and Antonio and myself have been checking on that, just making sure on the project. And also the lighting on Upper San Pedro, we did get the quotes for that, and Elijah and myself are working on getting those repaired. I know a lot of people have been questioning, and one of the options that we did have them include was doing the overhead lighting, the cabling. That way it'll deter people from stealing the lighting from underground like they've been doing. So that's one of the options, which I believe we're gonna go with in certain areas. And that is all I have on my report.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Mr. Trujillo. Councilors, do you have any comments or questions in regards to Mr. Trujillo's report at this time? Okay, hearing none. Mr. Trujillo, gentlemen, also to City Manager Martinez, thank you all for your continued conversations with NMDOT. I know they're hard to get a hold of sometimes, and to keep that dialogue going, but thank you for continuing this as well. Mr. Trujillo, your staff, BJ, everybody, thank you guys for your hard work. We really appreciate you guys, and thank you for the continuous thorough updates as well. Just please, if you can continue to keep us updated, State Road 76 and whatever else may be going on. With that said, is there anything else for Mr. Trujillo before we move on? Okay, hearing none. Thank you, Mr. Trujillo.
Thank you.
Okay, next item is item O, letter O, which is the next meeting scheduled tentatively for the first Tuesday of the month, which is November 3rd, 2020 at 6 p.m. If there's no other business to go before our—
Mr. Chair, can we change the date of that meeting? I work the polls and that's election day.
Well, that is election day. You're right about that. Can we tentatively look at, let me see. I'm not sure if everybody's good with November 10th is our council meeting, actually. That's yeah. Can we possibly, Stephen or BJ, can you guys possibly, if possible, get with the city clerk's office and look at some possible open dates, maybe like 2 or 3 dates, and maybe propose some dates to the committee, and then maybe at that point we could see which date would work best for November, if that works?
Yes, Mr. Chair, we'll look into that and get back to you.
Okay, very good. Thank you. We appreciate that. Yeah, election day would be a really tough day to have the meeting. So yeah, let's look at some alternate, like maybe 2 or 3 alternate dates for that. There's nothing else to go before the committee. I'm looking for an adjournment.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made in a second. With that, we are now adjourned officially at 7:22 p.m. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for all your hard work. Thank you, committee members, and wishing everybody a great night. We'll talk to you all soon.
Thank you.
Good night.
Okay, good night. Thank you.